Please welcome the Vice President of
Loyalty and E-commerce
Canada, Mark Nasr, in conversation with Skift Editor-at-Large, Brian Summers.
Mark Nasr, how are you?
Hey, Brian. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I want to let everybody know that Mark Nasr is one of my favorite people in the airline industry. So it is great to see you. And no, I don't say that about everyone. So, Mark, congratulations. I know there's a pandemic raging, but you launched a brand new loyalty program essentially from scratch a couple weeks ago. I know those cutovers can be really hard. What happened November 8th? Was everything smooth? Are we ready to go?
Thanks, Brian, and thanks for having me on. So it was certainly an interesting journey for us. You know, we made the announcement about 3 years ago, and we spent about 18 months researching and another 18 months building. Ultimately the program we had designed, it was a good news story for customers. It's a more generous, more flexible program. And so we had said the cutover really has a high bar associated with it because we don't want to turn what should be a good news story, a better program, into even temporarily a not so good news story. And so when the cutover came around, we had done more testing, more dress rehearsals, more preparation than we typically do, even for large cutovers of this nature. The cutover weekend was very interesting. We had a series of challenges, which was totally opaque to the consumer because we had scheduled a weekend of downtime. And ultimately we did go live a few hours late, but it was a very successful go live. Within 2 days, we were hitting all of our call center metrics, our digital metrics. Everything looks really good. So ultimately, despite thick and thin with data migration and those challenges that come up, a successful cutover.
So how do you get people excited about a brand new loyalty program when very few travelers are flying, especially up there in Canada?
Sure. So it's been a combination of a few things. First of all, we're very lucky to see that there still is tremendous interest and engagement in the program. One good metric to look at is what our active membership is outside of people who just fly us. And that's continued very much in line with years past. Spend on our credit cards, engagement in our credit cards, we've actually had lower attrition on our credit cards for most of this year than we've had in years past. From the conversations we've had, the market research we have, people are still very much focused on retaking back to travel once they feel it's safe and appropriate to do so. That's been a part of it. Another part has been some programs have, I guess probably from a cash flow management perspective, removed items from their catalog that are outside their own ecosystem. We've actually tried to do the opposite, which is reinforce our non-air and our non-air travel and merchandise rewards. And we've seen a very significant uptake in merchandise rewards and the other elements of travel like car and hotel rooms. It's down year over year, but it's down a lot less than air because we've had a number of people do local vacations and staycations and things like that with their points. So that really has been the crux of it. We had a strategy with the relaunch to add more everyday partners to the program, and we're able to accelerate that, but the best is yet to come. So Starbucks obviously is a partnership via our credit card program, and we launched a partnership over the course of the year with Uber Eats, and those things are more relevant now certainly than they were coming into the pandemic for a program like ours.
Okay. So for a lot of airlines, they talk all the time about cash conservation. And you've just described a situation where a member might want to redeem for an iPad or a MacBook or a hotel or a rental car. And you may not get discounts on that, but essentially you have to go out as a company and go buy them and give them to the members. So why is it good for you to spend what little cash you have on those and then give them to the members versus kind of make it hard to redeem for those things?
Well, Aeroplan is a huge net positive cash generator for AC and has been particularly so this year. And so as we look at cash leaving the door, really what we're trying to balance that against is what's the risk if members start disengaging, canceling their credit cards, no longer interacting with our promotions and our marketing. And you have to lose very, very few customers before that becomes a net negative. So, we looked at it, and early on, back in actually April, we made the business case to say it was important to continue investing and allowing these kinds of transactions and redemptions to occur, because the costs of not doing so, the risks were far greater. And now 9 months on, I think that assessment was appropriate. I think it's borne out in reality.
Okay. I wanted to ask you a specific question about designing this program from scratch. I think a lot of people know that I'm a loyalty nerd. You're a loyalty nerd. When you start from scratch, you have to decide in advance how many miles it's going to cost to redeem a business class ticket anywhere in the world. Maybe I want to go to Russia. Maybe I want to go to Northeast Asia or South Asia. How did you decide how much every country would cost in advance?
Well, there's obviously some secret sauce in there. I'd say largely our goal with redemption, our number one goal, was we wanted to create a model that we thought would be sustainable through airline business cycles. There's a lot of talk about devaluations as it relates to loyalty. And a lot of our thinking around that is it's because a program is designed either, for the peak of the cycle or the trough of the cycle. And when load factors and yields go up or they come down, the program no longer works as well. It's either, it's either too rewarding and it's causing too much displacement and dilution, or not sufficiently rewarding to stimulate and taking advantage of open inventory. So what we did is we took a bifurcated approach on Air Canada, where we can offer every single seat. We designed a program that was dynamic in nature, but still recognized the role that Aeroplan plays in driving business for Air Canada. So it's not like a fixed, a mile equals a penny or a penny and a half. There's actually more value we can give members in a variety of scenarios. But for our partners, the partnership model, at least today, is still a very limited and fixed amount of inventory. And because it's a limited and fixed amount of inventory, the costs around that are more consistent. And so we were able to put together a more traditional chart. And then finally, and I believe we're the first in the world to truly do this, we allowed full interoperability between the partner network and Air Canada. So for example, if you're trying to go from Ottawa to, let's say, Frankfurt, and you only need Air Canada for that 40-minute flight from Ottawa to Toronto, and you're going to hop on Lufthansa, if Lufthansa has that business class seat open, you can pair that with any seat on the Air Canada flight and pay a prorated amount, which recognizes the revenue that we need without bumping that entire award to Frankfurt all the way up to a much higher amount. And so there's a lot more flexibility as a result of that.
Are there any really good arbitrage opportunities? If I want to get the most bang for my Aeroplan point and really make you hurt, what should I be redeeming for?
So I don't think there's anything that makes us hurt a whole lot more than not, but there certainly are awards that produce a whole lot more value to the member. So you can be happy, really happy, without us hurting too much. That's the goal. And typically that's premium cabin redemptions, right? And one of the reasons why these travel programs and these travel credit card programs are so popular is because in most other industries you don't have perishable inventory. So if you're not going to sell the toaster one day, you'll sell it the next day. But airline seats, hotel rooms, if you're not going to sell it, it goes to waste. And so travel providers are able to offer disproportionate value. And it just so happens that some of the peak leisure periods are inverse to some of the peak premium business demand periods. So for example, if you want to go to Asia around Christmas, we have more premium seats that are available certainly than we would on a Friday in February. And so we're able to show that really, really big value difference between what the retail price is and what the price we're charging in points is. But from our side, it's still a good deal because that seat might have otherwise gone empty or had to be sold for a much lower rate and upgrade some other form of traffic.
So this is one of the reasons why you think in the future travel credit cards are always going to be more popular than, say, a cashback card or even an Apple card, because you'll always have that opportunity to get the huge redemption.
Yeah, I think, look, from my perspective, the biggest risk to travel credit cards exists in the broader context of regulation and disruption. From a travel services provider perspective, these programs work very well. If there's disruption with interchange, for example, if there's a huge migration to new and different forms of payment that have a different model, those things are real risks, in North America especially, to the travel card prowess. But again, going back to that point of being able to offer from a consumer perspective much higher than a 1 or 2%, which is typically what a cashback or a retail card can offer on average, being able to offer 5%, 7% in terms of value perception, back to the perishable inventory point. I think that, we're here to stay.
Okay. We have all these programs, including yours, that are basically creating and pumping as many miles as they can into the system right now to get paid. I think I just saw on View from the Wing that you have a 50% bonus going on for purchased miles. I mean, this is a currency. Is there a concern that coming out of this pandemic, there's going to be incredible inflation and, redemption that costs one thing today is going to cost twice as much in the future?
Well, I talked about how we built the new program to naturally ebb and flow with the cycle. So we feel really good about what we'll be pricing Air Canada seats at, partner seats. But I'll say this is why it's so important to expand the breadth of the program. I talked about our everyday partnerships. We're going to be making a series of announcements over the course of the next 3 months. But what we seek to do is significantly broaden and deepen the different areas where members can redeem their miles, not just earn. And so you'll see us do things in the everyday partnership space. You'll see us add additional travel products like car and hotel, as well as expand our merchandise catalog. And so as we come out of this, yes, we certainly built a larger liability, but between our dynamic air redemption model and the extra partner SKUs and brands that we'll have, we think we'll be able to accommodate, demand for redemption.
What's the most popular thing of that catalog?
Sorry, Brian?
What's the most popular item that people can buy with miles in that catalog? Maybe something that people wouldn't expect.
So car rentals are really popular at Aeroplan. It's a great program we have. There's actually a lot of mileage burn that happens there. In terms of the retail side, Apple products typically come out ahead in gift cards. There's 3 or 4 merchants that are kind of tier 1 type merchants that we have arrangements with. There's a lot of gift card redemption, and then for pure merchandise happens to be a lot of Apple products in addition to other things.
So as you would expect, mostly, right?
Yeah, I mean, what people, we have a premium program with premium customers, and the kinds of things that premium customers really look forward to and want to buy, you can expect, redemptions at similar types of merchants, premium merchants, as well as, high quality items like Apple products.
We have a question here from the audience, which is interesting. Do you have any thoughts on a paid for loyalty tier?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. Look, we already have it in a sense because of our credit card products. And we have 4 different credit card products. They start at $0 and it goes all the way up today till $600 a year. And in many ways, the co-brand is pay-to-play loyalty because of the benefit set that you get. And that benefit set keeps getting richer and richer to differentiate the products. So we clearly believe in paid for loyalty. We've taken a look and are considering, non-credit card based paid loyalty. But the product construct works well. When we test it, it's popular, and it certainly does create an effect where a member wants to fully amortize their investment, and so there's stickiness with the brand, disproportionate stickiness to members that don't attach with the same products.
Could it make people upset, though, if they get their loyalty the old-fashioned way with what we called earlier the butt in the seat mile, or the BIS?
I think the important thing with BIS is to continue to reward those customers. And when we relaunched Aeroplan, we actually took a number of benefits that get richer, you get more of them as you spend more and fly more on Air Canada. So for example, we have 50% off redemption coupons, and you don't get them just based on the tier. As you spend more, as you fly more, you get more of them. And so, it's kind of interesting. Aeroplan had such a rich history as a coalition and a retail program because of the spinoff. And Air Canada, obviously, were focused on flyers. So when we brought it back together, one of the positive culture shocks of the acquisition and the integration was realizing how different, but how important both sets are. The road warriors versus the fully retail, credit card, other times of engagement. And so we had to challenge ourselves to design a program that actually spoke to both.
Great. We always talk to you about loyalty, Mark, because you're the loyalty guru, but you also run e-commerce for Air Canada. And I'm curious, we are in a pandemic right now. It's taken more seriously in Canada. Most people are not traveling. You have the opportunity to play a lot of, I don't know if the word is games with the website. We've talked about A/B testing, how to make searches easier. Is there anything that you can do right now on an e-commerce level to persuade people to buy a ticket they might not have otherwise bought? Or if they're coming to buy a ticket, they buy a ticket?
Yeah, it's a great question. So our optimization practice is one of the things I'm most passionate about personally. And it's been interesting because the last few years it's been very much focused on conversion, average cart size, upsell, core commercial metrics. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we've actually done other things with it. Self-service has become even more important than before. Especially in the beginning, we had a lot of cancellations and rebookings and everything else. So we've used our optimization practice to improve how easy the navigational flows and how straightforwardly people can find options to self-service. And it's actually made a significant difference for us in call volume. But we're also doing it to draw attention, using those tools to draw attention to some of the COVID measures we put in place. So for example, we provide free COVID insurance on all international tickets. And we've used that practice to really hone that message and find out where it's most effective to display it in the booking path. We have our Clean Care Plus, which is kind of our biosecurity package. And we've used the optimization practice to tune where and how we tell the story of biosecurity. And what we're trying to do there, for example, is rather than maximize conversion, we're trying to maximize recognition and remembrance of Clean Care Plus post digital interaction. So kind of more core brand metrics than traditional commerce metrics.
And how do you test whether that's working? I mean, if it's a button to buy a ticket or upsell something, you'll get data about whether it works or not. But how do you know whether people are reading the box about biosecurity?
Yeah, so everything has a control group to it. And then, if we can measure directly from interaction, like how many people get to a page or convert, we can use those statistics from our web analytics. We also do market research and surveys. And so we follow up with folks that receive one experience or another, a certain portion of time after they've had the experience. And we can measure differences, via surveys and other market research.
Excellent, Mark. We are out of time. Thank you so much for the discussion. I look forward to seeing you again someday in person.
Great, me as well. Thank you so much, Brian, to the Skift team.